right, so we're gonna start with the definition. So I took this long definition from a website called Investopedia, and you can read it, but in a nutshell, for those of you who just may not know what crowdfunding is, it's taking advantage of, it's getting money, a little bit of money from a lot of people, as opposed to traditional like loans where you ask a big sum of money from a place like a bank or investors, for instance. And the thing that is unique about crowdfunding is that it does take advantage of social media platforms and online marketing tools, and these are the tools that you need to take advantage of that. So, all right, so as you probably know, there is not one crowdfunding platform, but there are a bunch of them. I listed some of the popular ones out there. You probably are familiar with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and you have some maybe less traditional one like Patreon, which is a lot geared toward artists or who are looking for patrons to support their work on like every month. You do have Kiva, what Emily was talking about. You do have another one that so I don't know if there's anybody from Europe here, but Ulule is a popular one in France. And then a friend of mine in the Boston area really swears by iPhone Woman. Like it's a crowdfunding platform really geared to a woman, and she found it. She raised a good amount of money using that platform to get an app off the ground. So So we're going to look at screenshots of our crowdfunding campaigns page. And the cool thing about all these crowdfunding pages, even though it was done in the past, they're all available for you to research. So if you're typing just the name of like the project, you can see it, you can see what are the perks that you had, you can see how much money was, what was the goal, how much money was actually raised, and so on and so forth. And now I'd like to get more into the reasons behind some of the choices of platforms. So I get started with Kickstarter. I find a big difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo is that Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform, which means that if you do not raise 100% of your goal, you're going to lose all of the funding. And Indiegogo gives you the option of having flexible funding, so if you only raise 50% of your goal, you'll still get access to the money. So I knew that I was going to take it seriously. Like, I didn't want to get complacent. I'm like, I'm going to do Kickstarter because I'm going to give everything I have, and I don't want to settle. Like, I'm going to give it my all. So, and Kickstarter seems to be a popular option for books as well. So that was why I chose Kickstarter. So.
And I chose Indiegogo because I was able to plan on taking whatever I could earn through Indiegogo. We knew we were building out our factory. We knew we were buying a launcher. So I just wanted whatever help I could get from our network. So I went with that one, knowing I set a goal for $12,000, but I knew if I even made half of that, that would be a huge help towards our goals.
And yeah, we picked Kickstarter for the project in Belize because we really wanted to tap into virality. We weren't sure how much of an existing kind of community we would have, and we knew people who had gone through the Kickstarter platform and gave us a bunch of tips on how to leverage PR, different pieces that I'll get into as well later. So Kickstarter made sense for Belize, and we picked Kiva for the financing within our supply chain because it's a 0% interest, zero risk credit facility basically that works super well for smallholder farmers, for smallholder farmer associations, and the money does get paid back. So it enabled us to create accountability in the funding, so it wasn't grant funding. There were no perks or rewards that we had to sort of manage for funders. We were able to return their money without any interest, but fully return it and then recycle that back in to the supply chain.
All right, so that's all a personal choice. So before, if you know you're going to run a campaign, I would encourage you to go to each platform, look things up, and see what resonates with you. Get yourself familiar with some of the other projects. But there's just so much out there. Pick the one that I think at some point you have to go with, okay, this one just sits right with me. So with that, we're gonna talk about the first keys to success. And so once you pick, I find that, okay, the first thing that I knew I did, I started planning. I knew I was gonna start a crowdfunding campaign 1 year before I actually did. And the first thing I had noticed with popular or like successful crowdfunding campaigns is that they all seem to have one thing in common, and that's key number one, is they had an audience first. And I thought of a quote here by Seth Godin. I don't know if there are other Seth Godin fans out there, but I love this quote. It comes like, he has a podcast called Akimbo, and he always says that it's not Kickstarter, it should be called Kick Finisher. You build the audience first, and then you get the money. Like that's the way. And that would be, there's one thing that you actually take away from this talk is that you have to build the audience first. And we're going to talk more about like, what does that mean? What does that look like, building the audience? For me, having that food survivor guide for French expats, this is what my audience looked like. I had a blog for over 10 years. I had 2 launches. This is the 3rd version. I had funded the first 2 runs of the book. I had access to these people's email, the first customers' email addresses. I had Facebook groups with over 5,000 people. I had a Facebook page with over 3,000 followers. I had an Instagram with close to, I think at the time was like 2,000 people. So I had an audience that was like spread out through social media, and the thing for me that was, and I get more into that, but like having my Facebook group, the one that I nurtured, where I could actually be known, trusted, and liked, that was like, that big Facebook group really was very important for me. So now Enna, I know, Enna, like, I really followed her, I really love what she did with her audience, and so she's gonna talk more about that.
Okay. Well, I put most of my efforts into that launch, everything in the month before the publication of the campaign live. I followed all of the instructions and advice that are provided by Indiegogo, Kickstarter. I used the Indiegogo platform for my fundraiser, but I looked at the other advising tools and FAQ for all of those platforms. I had helped friends with Kiva Zip loans because they do microfunding in the US as well for other businesses, not just farming or overseas. So the most important thing I learned from Indiegogo's advice was that they have a calculator for figuring out your conversion rate. Is that what's
it's on there? Yeah.
Okay, we're good. We're on the same page. So I was able to look at my email network, family and friends, my Facebook network, which I already was pretty large because my previous business had a large Facebook network already. So I was able to calculate that estimated 1% or 5% of the people in those various networks are likely to convert to being a paid supporter or a paying supporter, and then what that average was. So I decided to put all my effort into growing that list. I already was sharing on social media about my process, learning how to make chocolate, making it, selling it, and that was very exciting because it's a passion project. And so people bought into that. And then I started telling them, okay, we're gonna move, we're gonna build a space, we're gonna be launching this Kickstarter or Indiegogo crowdfunding, we're gonna need your help. And then I started seeding my social media and conversations with people about that. And then as it became closer, I started telling people, please share my email list with your family and friends because I'm trying to grow my lists. The more supporters we get, the more likely I am to accomplish my goals. And then I set a launch date of, I use all the science, all the data. If you launch on at that time, it's probably different now, but social media published at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday had the highest reading statistics and click-throughs, so that's when I plan to launch, was 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, and or a month before Thanksgiving. So I had the pre-Christmas, the pre-holiday shopping built into my perks. So backtrack from that Wednesday, the Monday or so before, I started emailing. So I collected my email list. I divided it into 2 groups. One was the close family and friends, the people who I know. I can just say, Estelle loves me, she's my sister, I know she's gonna buy something. In fact, she's gonna share it to all her family and friends too, because she's so excited about me. So I have one list of people who I made that assumption about, and then my larger network. And so for that list of close people, I sent a very specific email to all of them that said, statistics show that crowd fundraising campaigns are 50% more likely to succeed if you get 25% of your funding in the first 24 to 48 hours. So, I love you, hope you'll support me. If you can't financially, please share the word, and please, 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 if you do want to support me, sign up in the first 24 hours. And I'm gonna be launching it on Wednesday. So, fast forward to Tuesday, I pulled the trigger on those people. I said I was gonna launch this on Wednesday, but actually I'm not gonna publish it on social media until Wednesday, but I'm actually giving you guys the link right now. So I actually extended my 48 hours by another 24 by giving early access to that close group of 100 or so family and friends. And they reached my 25% goal before I launched at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. They actually were already sharing on social media because those sharing tools are built in. But so by the time 48 hours had passed, I was well past that 30%, and I made about 9,000 of my goal in the first week. That was long-winded.
That's amazing.
Sorry.
Yeah, that is amazing, though. And I mean, it just goes to show, like, if you do the work in the beginning,
it was work and data.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were definitely less data-driven when we did the Kickstarter, but it had a lot of the same kind of theories. The date that we chose to launch was the day after Northwest Chocolate Festival in 2014. And so we had a newsletter list of about 500 people. We had a Facebook page. This was, before Facebook pages were like super popular, but it was, I think, maybe about 4,000 people. So we had a pretty solid following. But we really knew that our core audience, our core customers were going to be chocolate makers. My Mountain Cacao at the time had a waiting list of over 60 chocolate makers wanting to buy cacao. This was sort of before the boom in specialty cacao, so we were really one of the only options for chocolate makers looking for really high quality, essentially fermented cacao with full traceability, transparency, and ability to really connect with the farmers, come down to visit, etc. And so we had this launch party with chocolate makers. It was really fun. We got a big screen and did a projector and really kind of organized people to get them really psyched. And we had a video that was made by Bill Mullen from Rocca, who, many of you know him, he's just an amazing sort of design, aesthetic genius. He created this beautiful video. He came down to Belize for free to make it for us, which was awesome. We just kind of put him up. So he got an adventure and we got a beautiful video, and then we showed it at the event. And what was really interesting, we did put a lot of work into thinking about the rewards before we launched, because we wanted to make sure they would be attractive to chocolate makers, to chocolate lovers. But we learned at the event that we had missed out on this huge reward opportunity, and luckily we were able to get that in right at the last minute, which was a reward to skip the line. And become first in line and have access right away to my Mountain Cacao. And because of the timing of our launch party and having that interaction with, it was about 40 chocolate makers who showed up, and then being able to incorporate that new reward at the last minute, we had set a goal of $40,000. We raised over 50% of that in the first 48 hours and became a Kickstarter staff pick, which sort of spread the virality and achieved that goal that we weren't sure we were going to be able to hit. We raised the full amount in the first week. We actually ended up raising almost a full 50% of the total from just that reward of chocolate makers being able to skip the line. And it helped us establish relationships with chocolate makers who continue to be, active lovers of my Mountain Cacao, and just that connection to being a part of the establishment of the demonstration farm, a part of really at this important moment for the company, I think was really, really cool. And then another thing that we did was we made a press release the day of the launch, and we sent that out to Huffington Post and Forbes and some other folks. We ended up getting a couple of blog posts written, which made it really easy to share also and kind of send things to people along with the campaign, which I think helped us build that momentum.